Assalamu alaikum, fam. Hope you're doing well. So, if you find yourself not able to handle 4 classes, you should cut off your entertainment more. And what I'd argue is that if you're having a difficult time making sure that you're succeeding in your essays, in your homework journals that you're supposed to do, whatever it is that your professor assigns for you, you need to cut off your entertainment. A good college student, even if you're on your own studying, you should be able to handle jumping from topic to topic and retaining the information. And one way in which you can retain the information proper is by color coding, tagging, and annotating your book as well as your notes that you take. Now, the way in which you interpret the data that you take is also going to vary on you as well. But you have to keep pressing onward in the way in which you study. Now, only an idiot would say, you will get confused with the more you study. That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. The more you study, the more you will learn. And you will eventually adapt. So, if you prioritize better, you will have a better chance of being successful in your classes. So, let's say you have 6 classes. Each class, you have 6 books, and you have to read 20 pages each day. You have 1 day to study. The next day, everything needs to be submitted online, and you need to have a 2-page answer to a prompt, and then respond to 2 people who also post in the forum and such on the discussion panels. So this requires quite extensive preparation, study, focus, and diligence. And as you keep fulfilling your assignments, you will gain a skill that will allow you to adapt. So, for example, you watch several YouTube videos a day. You can remember, oh, this content creator said this today, someone said this today. You went to work, your boss gave you, some objectives that you had to do. If you are a server, like when I was a waitress or when I helped do bartending, you have several customers you have to deal with. You have extreme multitasking. Okay, this customer wanted a refill on their beer. This customer wanted their burger cooked medium rare. I have food in the window I have to deliver to the table. Oh, I gotta go check on table 7 to see if their dessert is fine. Extreme multitasking. So, if somebody is overwhelmed just by focusing on a couple different topics a day, this is a sign that your entertainment has taken over and that you're very weak and quite lazy and sloth-like. And if the level of English in something is very simple, or your native language, whatever it is, that a 9-year-old could understand it, and you think that you'll get confused the more you read, the more you learn, and you find yourself wanting to dismiss things so that you can focus on something else, you're not doing your job well. Now, a lot of students, when they're in a classroom and they have a strict teacher, they do quite well. But the self-paced courses where, okay, you have 1 week, here's the assignment, study at your own self. A lot of students struggle with that. I do pretty okay with that because I set my goals, I set my objectives, and I'm very strict with who I spend my time with. Now, you have to have good sleep, eat well, and avoid certain people and avoid certain mindsets in order for you to focus on your studies. Your school should be coming, you should do your prayers, and then you should be studying. And then after that, you go into, I'd say, your local news, what things have to be aware, what's going on in your family issues, calling people, seeing how they're doing and such. having a hobby of relaxed time, exercising. There's all these different balances that you need to do to keep your brain focused and determined. Now, if you're not eating well, you're not sleeping good, you are scrolling too much, and you're not really focusing your mind for long periods of time on a certain subject, you're going to have a harder time succeeding in your classes and holding still and focusing. I have ADHD and ADD, OCD and PTSD, all those weird things. I use no medication, and I'm able to maintain my studies and do just fine. It's about discipline. So that is why I urge people to get comfortable with reading things themselves. It takes time and effort. You're not going to be able to write an essay or do good in your class exams for your midterm exam or your final exams if all you did was read a couple things on Wikipedia, because you're going to have to write a 5, maybe 7-page response with, textual analysis, quotations that are cited in there properly, and you're going to have your topic sentence match up with your thesis statement and always go into your conclusion. So all of this takes analysis. All of this takes you actually really thinking about the topic. You cannot really think about the topic if you go to Dr. Google, or your surface level is it's not very deep. It's very shallow. And you're just hearing what others say. What others say is not going to work on an actual exam, because you cannot just parrot things back. You have to be able to explain in detail. And by annotating a book, by sitting with it, and actually having the paper is better for you. Looking at a screen, you're going to dry your eyes out, you're going to get more fatigued, and you're going to get more tempted by notifications on your phone, and then you're going to get more distracted. So even if the textbook costs more, you should spend time to get it, and then put your phone somewhere else, and then focus on your studies. Especially if you find yourself spending more time in YouTube chat streams that are not about knowledge, but about feeling and emotion and fun and things like that. It's not really going to benefit you, and you need to put your school first. Now, you can have your educational time to complement others, to connect with community and such, but you have to really focus on that. So if you're not doing good in your school, or you got below a 3.5 GPA, you need to work on that. You're screwing up. And your GPA does say a lot about you. It says a lot about your priorities. It says about what you focused on, and how you spent your time, and what kind of person you are, and how well you've been able to fortify yourself against distraction. And you want to avoid burnout. You can have burnout in many different ways. And exercise is something that helps you. So if you find yourself, spending too much time in chat rooms instead of exercising, if you got a fat gut when you stand up, and you're not very happy with yourself, you're going to be more finicky and have, irritable bowel syndrome, constipation, and, poor digestion. That's also going to affect your ability to focus for studies. So if you go for a nice run, come back, cool off, take a shower, get a nice cup of tea, some hot coffee, or sparkling water, and you sit down and you study, you're going to feel a lot better. And if you go step outside, take a deep breath, do some good stretches, and then go back at it and do intervals of breaks between your study sessions, you're going to find your focus to be good. And again, you need to discipline yourself. You need to put yourself to the test, okay? And if you have a paper coming up, you need to see the other side of the perspective. So today, we were just learning about the difference between European conservatives compared to American conservatives with their social and economic policies. And so that's going to take time to hear what someone else says. And then we had to go through European liberals versus more 20th century liberals. So in order to do that, you're going to need to go to those people and hear what they have to say. And you're going to need to be mature and hear what it is those people have to say. And you're going to have to process their ideas in a fair manner to use in your essay. You can't just say, they're a bunch of idiots and we're always right. You know? Or they don't really like this, or they don't really like that. You're going to have to actually state their ideas fairly with the principle of charity, in a way that your reader wants to read. If you're just berating and insulting, mocking your opponent in your writing about them, it's not really going to be enjoyable to like your average reader who's like, okay, I just kind of get the facts about what they believe without you just saying you're right. Can we get, even if you can put in some sense of humor in there, you can also put your bias in there, but word it in a way that is, gonna grab people. So you're gonna have to encounter ideas. You can't just dismiss them, right? Okay, I don't even need to check out what they say. No, you want to write a good paper. And to write a good paper, you need to have patience to read what your opponents say. And you're going to really need to find the answer to it. So if you're going to write a paper that has to do with social issues, it's very important. You need to hear what they say about those issues and work on it. So think about how you can be mature and you can be able to go on the websites or the forums and interact with your opponent so that you can have material to write a proper paper that is both informative and entertaining and actually has some, facts there, not just riddles and games and, gotcha stuff. No, real things that, okay, this person obviously has taken the time to really categorize their opponent and such. So to bring it back to my main premise though, is that you have to really focus on your studies. I think if you're following somebody who's encouraging you to, not study, to listen to them instead, like they have all the answers, that's not the way it goes. You always have to fact check people too and push with your ideas. So try doing that and see how it goes. You should make it a goal for yourself to have a 3.5 GPA or higher. And if you don't have that, get the hell off YouTube. And if other people are getting in the way of your studying, you need to have discipline and you need to cut off the entertainment. And you need to be harder on yourself with your studies. That way, when you do take a self-paced class, you'll be able to handle it. You'll be able to study on your own. And especially now with so many courses being online, you're not going to really have that interactive environment where you're going to be able to nerd out with the actual really focused students, right? So people don't want to gather now because of the Rona, right? So it's going to be harder for the more lazier students to piggyback and tail ride off of the students who actually take the time out to do the work. So you have to shape up and you have to keep learning and keep writing and keep practicing and take your papers to be peer reviewed and talk to your opponent and get some ideas so that you can write a well-balanced, thought-provoking paper, and you'll be able to answer essay questions on your exams much better. So look at your GPA and then really fix your study method and stop being a parrot. Read things for yourself and do your due diligence so you can prepare yourself for a proper pathway into your career and your goals.